So all the ladies hear me out and all the fellas say amen. Ladies, please, whatever you do not neglect the presence of a man in your child's life, right? I know you're a strong woman, you can do things on your own, you make your money, you got your house, all that. And I applaud you on being able to take care of yourself. Understand that's what grown people do. But there is nothing that equals a masculine presence in a child's life, especially if you have a son. Not just any man, right? You want the right man, I agree with you on that. Some of y'all are thinking that. But in particular, you want a man who has been through wars and won, right? Maybe street wars at one point in his life, right? Maybe economic wars, maybe spiritual warfare, wars in the boardroom, you know what I'm saying? Wars maybe in the court system where we had to fight and win battles. Those are the type of men that you want in your child's life. Along with, godly men and all that, good character and all that stuff. Let me tell you why. Let me give you an example, ladies. When I first gave my life to Christ in a real way at the age of 20, the fact that I had these masculine brothers in my church as ministers, elders, pastors, made a huge impact on my life. And I was grown. Technically, I was already grown. I was 20 years old. And my dad is in my life, but my dad lives in another state. And, he hadn't given his life to Christ at that time in a real way, right? He's starting to make that decision now. But just to go to church, ladies, on the second row, because I would sit on the second row, and I would have these men in front of me. In the front row would be all the elders, deacons, all the men with their hands raised, their hands lifted, praising God in a masculine manner, making it cool and masculine to be a man of God. It had a deep impact on me. Even at the age of 20, right? When I got into gospel rap and I started listening to cats like Prime Minister and Antonius and, these guys that were out of Texas doing gospel rap. And I listened to Cross Movement too and people like that. But people like Prime and Antonius, T-Bone, those gospel rappers who still had that rough edge, but they were like men of God without compromise, had a huge impact on my life, on my spiritual life, and me as a man and my character. I know some of y'all are saying you don't need a man. You do need a man if you got kids. If you have sons, you need a man. You want me to prove my point? If you don't have a man in your house, your son is having to supplement that somewhere, which is not necessarily a problem. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, normally there are other men in the community that pick up the slack for him not having the father in his home or in his life. It's usually coaches, right? It's teachers, it's pastors and ministers, it's mentors. It might be the dudes on the block, which is what you don't want. He gonna look at it's a young boy's nature to try to find his identity. He might find it in, God forbid, like a gangster rapper or something like that, or the cats out on the block, or a gang. Or he might find it on his basketball team, or he might find it with the brothers in his science class. Come on. Us young black men aspire to be scientists and mathematicians too. But that man, that example is going to come from somewhere. It's just not coming from something that you handpicked. So ladies, don't let this ultra feminism, strong woman stuff hold you back. And I say this in love. Let's get back to marriages in love. Let's get rid of the 304 culture. Fellas, let's get rid of the pimp culture. Ladies, let's get rid of all this ridiculous...
Construction reported ahead.
Pardon me, y'all, I'm on the road. Ridiculous standards of him having to make 300 grand and all that stuff. That don't mean he a good dude. And a lot of them men are out in the streets. So, ladies, just take that to heart. I mean it in love. All right, peace out, y'all. Be blessed.